In Lebanon, on the structure of a temple, some stones have been placed, which leave the human mind stunned. Each stone weighs as much as 3 blue whales. And surprisingly, they were not only cut in one piece with great skill, but also transported from a distance of 1.5 kilometers. That 2,000s of years ago. But the mystery is that so far there has been no such civilization of humans that is famous for cutting such big stones. Has there been any such civilization in history that had the knowledge that we do not have today? For the investigation of these stones, a team of German archaeologists started excavating the ear of the stone from where these stones were brought. There is still an incomplete stone there, which is said to weigh 1,200 tons. That is about 4.747. After excavating here, the archaeologists found some evidence in the ground that is quite difficult to believe. Welcome again to the videos of Info TV. Viewers, there is a city called Baalbek in the east of the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, where people from all over the world come to see some ruins of the Roman Empire. But the funny thing is that these ruins seen from above were built during the Roman Empire, but the archaeologists below it have found some evidence that has no connection with the Roman Empire. At least not yet. Here is a temple built by the ancient Romans, which is called the Temple of Jupiter. This temple is still the best example of the architecture and skill of the Roman Empire. But under the construction of this temple, the foundation of very large stones has been found. At first it was thought that maybe it was not in one piece, but small stones were attached with great skill to make it look like one. But after various tests, it was confirmed that it was nothing but a giant stone. These stones, later called trilithons, are 62 feet long, 14 feet high, and 12 feet thick. Surprisingly, only one stone weighs 900 tons. It was probably the first time in human history to cut such a large stone into an accurate block and lift it 30 feet up. If you want to estimate the size and weight of these stones, each stone is 900,000 kilograms, which is 1.5 times heavier than the world's heaviest ship, the Antonov in 225 Myria. And it is 10 times larger than the largest stones used in the construction of the Pyramid of Giza. Despite their large size, these stones were somehow transported from Can to here, which is about 1.5 kilometers from here. And then it was placed on top of the 400-ton blocks of the Heliopolis complex, on which the walls of the complex were later built by placing small blocks. The accuracy with which these stones were cut and joined is really quite extraordinary, especially for that era when it was difficult to imagine modern machinery, because there is not even as much distance between them as paper. Looking at the Roman structures, their focus was on beauty. They wanted to show their construction skills to the world. But unlike this, the trilithons were not to be shown, but to be buried here, because this part of the foundation was buried in the ground first. After seeing this, a question arises in the mind that if a civilization does such a big feat, why would it hide it? Ancient Romans, who are known to have a record of their every skill, why is there no mention of these trilithons coming from Can and picking it up in Roman documents? This shows that the construction of this site was not entirely done by the ancient Romans. Rather, they built their temple on the built foundation. Apart from this, according to historians, the biggest crane the Romans had could only lift 60 tons, because of which it is extremely impossible for them to lift these 900-ton stones. And the stones that the Romans picked up from the crane, they made a special hole in the middle of it. But we do not find any such hole in the trilithons. If the common engineering techniques of the Romans have no record of cutting, lifting, and even bringing the trilithon, then who did this work with so much skill? Who made the real foundation of the Temple of Jupiter? The other stones of the Temple of Jupiter are attached to the finishing. While the finishing of the trilithons is not there, and the effects of wind and sand erosion are clearly visible on them, as if they have been lying here for thousands of years. Many historians believe that keeping all these things in mind, the trilithons are not of the Roman Empire, but they are 12,000 years old. That is, 10,000 years before the Roman Empire. The work that is considered impossible even in today's modern era, how did any civilization do it at that time? This is a secret that archaeologists have not been able to tell yet. In Baalbek, it is not only the trilithons that keep the human mind in a loop. In the compound of the Temple of Jupiter, such large stones can be seen in many places. Look at this 800-ton stone next to the stairs. It is not an ordinary thing to move it. Then we come to the south wall, where countless blocks of 400 to 800 tons are found. Some are above the ground, and some are below the ground. But no one knows how deep it is in the ground. The fitting in the middle of it is done with great care. And this line on the border is less than 1 millimeter. After seeing this work looks even more complicated. There are some strange marks on the surface of these stones. Like today's modern mining machinery, they are made on stones. The length of these marks is about 10 feet, and they are completely parallel to each other. If we talk about the tools of the ancient era, none of them can make such marks. At least, there is no such tool on the record of historians. Such tool marks have also been seen on the stones of Yangshan Quarry in China. Here is a 16,000-ton stone block, which has exactly the same marks on it as on the stones of Baalbek. Similarly, such marks have also been seen in the ancient city of Petra in Jordan. This city was also built at least 2,300 years ago by cutting the rocks of the mountains. If compared, these marks are like today's modern machinery. That is, even in ancient times, there was such technology that could cut the stones like modern machinery. But it is obvious that historians do not have any solid proof of this. Now let's come to the ear from where the stones of Baalbek were actually brought, which also includes trilithons. Baalbek Quarry is about 1.5 kilometers away from the Temple of Jupiter, and it is the ear of a limestone. Some half-cut stones are still present here. This is more surprising because these are the largest stones in the Temple of Jupiter and the complex. This half-cut stone on the ear is known as Pregnant Woman. Many stories are famous about how it got its name. 68 feet long, 14 feet high, and 14 feet thick. According to the area, its weight is calculated at 1,200 tons. This stone is lying at an angle, while its lower part is still attached to the stone of the ear. Those who have cut it in this shape did not get a chance to separate its lower part, and perhaps they had to leave this work in the middle. Otherwise, perhaps this stone would have been visible on the side of the Temple of Jupiter today. At the bottom of this stone, there are still similar marks that have been seen on the other stones of the Temple of Jupiter. A model of the Pregnant Woman stone has been placed in the Jungfrau Park in Switzerland, around which models of some modern cranes have been erected. The purpose of showing is only that if the Pregnant Woman stone is to be erected in today's era, then about 20 cranes can work together. That too, only when there is space to erect cranes up to 50 to 60 feet around the stone. The first Pregnant Woman stone was half buried in the ground, but in 2014, a team of archaeologists excavated here and found that it was also separate from the ear inside the ground. Only the bottom of this block is still attached to the ear. That is, for thousands of years, the soil layer had buried it in the ground. Scientists believe that only 1 inch of the soil layer accumulates between 80 and 100 years. If you look at the old pictures of the Pregnant Woman stone, it is buried in about 10 feet, i.e. 120 inches. Therefore, if 1 inch is equal to 80 years, then it will take 9,600 years for 120 inches to accumulate. Approximately 10,000 years. It is quite difficult to think and understand that in the Stone Age, humans were able to do such challenging tasks. In 2014, when excavations were carried out for this stone, another surprising thing emerged. Another hidden stone. This stone is buried in the ground just like the Pregnant Woman stone, which is estimated to weigh 1,650 tons. This is the largest stone block in the world, which is identified by the name of the Forgotten Stone. This is just a part of the block that can be seen from above. Nothing can be said about how deep and what is hidden inside the ear. This stone is a mystery for today's scientists, including engineers and archaeologists. The reason for this is that the methods used to cut, transport, and keep them in the right place do not seem to be possible for any famous ancient civilization or even today's builders. In addition, the journey from this ear to the ear is not only uphill due to the mountain, but also quite steep. There is no evidence that a straight path has been made for the transport of these stones in the ancient era, which would have made it easier to pull the stones. Not only that, how would they have been picked up so finely after delivering these heavy stones to the site of Baalbek? Even if it is assumed that ancient builders must have used the pulley system, there are no such signs on the stones that indicate the use of a pulley system. These hugged stones of Baalbek give us a hint of an ancient civilization, that era when the size of humans was quite large and their bodies were powerful like a god. Different religious books such as the Bible, Quran, and Hindi scriptures also mention such people who were very tall and powerful. They had such powers that superhumans have in some fiction movies. They have been given different names in different books, as they are called Nephilim in the Bible. Somewhere they are said to be 450 feet tall, somewhere up to 100 feet. And for those civilizations, it was not so difficult to pick up the stones of Baalbek. I hope you will like and share this video of Info TV. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next great video.